If you stand on the edge of San Francisco Bay and look out across the cold, restless water, you'll see it. A small island. Quiet. Still. Almost calm. It doesn't look dangerous. It doesn't look impossible. In fact, from a distance, it almost feels ordinary. But for decades, that place meant one thing and one thing only. No way out. This was Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary, a prison designed not just to hold men, but to remove the idea of escape completely. Everything about it worked together. The thick concrete walls, the steel bars, the armed guards, the constant routines, and beyond all of that, the water. Cold, violent, unforgiving. The kind of water that doesn't just stop you, it finishes the job. And because of all of this, a belief formed, not officially, not written anywhere, but understood by everyone who knew the place. No one escapes Alcatraz. But in 1962, that belief was tested. Inside the prison, life moved with a rhythm that never changed. The same sounds, the same routines, the same locked doors closing every night with a final echoing certainty. Prisoners woke up at the same time, lined up at the same time, ate, worked, returned to their cells. Everything controlled, everything predictable. And yet, inside that predictability, something unpredictable was happening. 3 men, frankmorris, and brothers John Anglin and Clarence Anglin. They weren't the loudest. They weren't the strongest. But they were watching, listening, thinking. Because in a place where everything is controlled, thinking becomes the most dangerous thing you can do. And slowly and over time, a plan began to take shape. Not all at once, not perfectly, but piece by piece. Their cells, like all the others, were surrounded by solid concrete, thick, cold, built to last, built to stop anything from getting through. But behind those walls, there was something overlooked. Ventilation openings, small, hidden, almost insignificant. But sometimes, the smallest weaknesses matter the most. They started with what they had. A spoon, something so ordinary, so harmless, that no one would ever suspect it. Night after night, when the prison quieted down, they worked. Scraping, chipping, grinding away at the concrete. Slow, careful. The sound was faint, almost nothing, blending into the background noise of the prison. And during the day, they covered everything. Carefully crafted fake panels, painted to match the walls, placed so perfectly that no one noticed. Days passed, weeks passed, months passed, and still, no one noticed, because the plan wasn't rushed. It was patient, and patience is what made it work. Eventually, the holes were big enough to fit through, but escaping the cell was only the first step, because beyond those walls, there was still the prison itself. Still guards, still locked doors, still the island. So the plan continued. Behind the cells, there was a hidden space, a utility corridor, dark, forgotten, not part of the normal prison routine, and that became their pathway. Each night, they slipped through the holes, into the darkness, moving carefully, learning the space, understanding every step, every sound, until they could move, without being noticed. But even that wasn't enough, because the biggest obstacle was still waiting. The water, cold enough to take your breath away, strong enough to pull you under. Most people believed no one could survive it, but they didn't plan to swim. They planned to outsmart it. Using raincoats, dozens of them, they created something extraordinary. A raft, carefully stitched together, sealed, inflated. Something that could carry them across the freezing water. They even made life vests, because this wasn't just an escape. It was a survival mission. And then they added one final detail, the detail that made everything possible. Fake heads, made from soap, paper, paint, and real human hair from the prison barbershop. Carefully shaped, carefully detailed, placed on their pillows. In the dim light of night, they looked real, convincing enough to fool a quick glance. And that's all they needed, because guards don't expect something unusual when everything looks normal. And that illusion bought them time to disappear. Then, the night came, June 11, 1962. Everything was ready. No more waiting, no more planning, just action. One by one, they moved. Out of their cells, through the holes, into the hidden corridor, their fake heads resting silently behind them. Everything working. Exactly as planned, they climbed upward, through the structure of the prison, until they reached the roof. The air outside was cold, sharp, the sound of the water below, constant. The lights of San Francisco, glowing in the distance. Freedom, so close, but still uncertain. They moved carefully down the side of the building, avoiding detection, avoiding noise, because now there was no room for mistakes. They reached the ground. The raft was waiting. They pushed it into the water, stepped in, and then they disappeared into the darkness, into the freezing bay, into the unknown. Morning came. The prison woke up. Guards began their routine, walking past cells, checking each prisoner. Everything looked normal. The heads were there, still, convincing. But something felt off. A closer look. And suddenly, everything changed. The heads weren't real. The beds were empty. The prisoners were gone. And just like that, the impossible had happened. An escape from Alcatraz. The alarm sounded. Search teams moved immediately. Boats filled the water. Helicopters scanned from above. Every possible route was checked. Every possibility considered. But there was nothing. No raft. No bodies. No clear evidence. Only questions. Did they survive? Did they make it across? Did the plan actually work? Or did the cold water take them? No one knows. And that's what makes this story so powerful, because it doesn't end. There's no final answer, no confirmed truth, just a mystery. 3 men escaped the most secure prison in the world and were never seen again. And maybe that's what makes it unforgettable. Not just the escape, but the unknown, because sometimes the most powerful stories don't give you answers. They leave you wondering. And if this story made you pause, even for a moment, then stay here, because history is full of stories like this. Real stories. Impossible stories. The kind that feel like fiction, but aren't. And the next one might be even harder to believe.